Have you ever wondered why two people with the exact same income end up in completely different financial situations 10 years later? The answer almost always comes down to one thing: the budgeting system they chose. Today, we are breaking down two of the most popular budgeting frameworks ever created: the 50-30-20 rule and the 70-20-10 rule. By the end of this video, you will know exactly which one is right for your life, your income, and your goals. Stick around because the answer might genuinely surprise you. Let's start with the basics. The 50-30-20 rule was popularized by Senator Elizabeth Warren in her book, All You're Worth. The idea is straightforward. You take your after-tax income and divide it into three buckets. 50% goes toward your needs: rent, groceries, utilities, insurance, minimum debt payments. 30% goes toward your wants: dining out, entertainment, subscriptions, hobbies. And the remaining 20% goes toward savings and paying down extra debt. Simple, clean, and honestly pretty intuitive for most people. Now, the 70-20-10 rule works differently. Here, 70% of your income covers your everyday living expenses, basically everything you spend money on day to day, which includes both needs and wants combined. 20% goes directly towards savings and investments, and 10% is designated for debt repayment or giving, depending on which version of the rule you follow. Some people use that 10% strictly for charitable donations. Others throw it entirely at debt. The flexibility is kind of the whole point. So, which one actually works better? Here's where it gets interesting. The answer completely depends on your current financial situation, and this is something most personal finance videos never tell you. If you're someone who's just starting out, maybe you landed your first real job, you have student loans, your income is not huge yet, the 70-20-10 rule is probably going to feel more achievable. Think about it. When 70% of your income can cover all your living expenses, you have a wider runway. You're not agonizing over whether your Netflix subscription counts as a need or a want. Everything is bundled together under that big 70% umbrella. It reduces decision fatigue and makes budgeting feel less like punishment. But here's the trade-off. That 30% savings and debt category in the 50-30-20 rule is genuinely powerful. If you can pull it off, putting 20% towards savings while simultaneously managing your wants and paying down debt aggressively can build wealth significantly faster. The discipline required is higher, but the reward is proportionally bigger. Let's talk about a real scenario. Imagine someone bringing home $3,000 a month after taxes. Under the 50-30-20 rule, they would allocate $1,500 to needs, $900 to wants, and $600 to savings. Under the 70-20-10 rule, that same person would have $2,100 for all living expenses combined, $600 for savings, and $300 for debt or donations. Notice something? The savings number is actually identical in both scenarios here. The real difference is in how much freedom you have within your spending categories. Now, here's a psychological insight that most people overlook entirely. The 50-30-20 rule forces you to draw a clear line between needs and wants, and that line, it's uncomfortable. It makes you confront your spending habits head-on. Some people thrive under that scrutiny. They enjoy the precision. Others find it paralyzing, and they abandon their budget entirely within 2 weeks because categorizing every single transaction feels overwhelming. The 70-20-10 rule, on the other hand, gives you breathing room. That larger 70% bucket means you're less likely to feel like you're failing. And in budgeting, consistency beats perfection every single time. A budget you actually stick to is infinitely more valuable than a technically superior one you abandon after a month. There's another factor worth considering: income level. High earners often find the 50-30-20 rule too generous on the wants side. If someone is making $10,000 a month, allocating $3,000 to discretionary spending can actually lead to lifestyle inflation rather than wealth building. In that case, the 70-20-10 structure, with its heavier savings emphasis, often produces better long-term outcomes. Meanwhile, lower-income earners may find that 50% barely covers necessities in expensive cities, making the whole framework feel impossibly rigid. Here's something nobody talks about enough. Both of these systems are starting points, not rigid laws. The real power comes when you treat them as flexible guidelines and adjust based on your actual life circumstances. Some months, an emergency pushes your needs category higher. Some months, you get a bonus and can supercharge your savings. The framework gives you direction, but your life gives you context. So, which should you actually choose? Here's the honest answer. If you're dealing with significant debt and you need a system that separates your financial obligations clearly, lean toward 50-30-20 because it forces that discipline. If you're relatively debt-free, earning a comfortable income, and your biggest challenge is just building consistent savings habits, the 70-20-10 approach offers a cleaner and more motivating structure. And if you're somewhere in the middle, which most people are, try starting with 70-20-10 for 3 months just to build the habit, then gradually transition toward 50-30-20 as your financial literacy and discipline grow. The goal of any budget is not perfection on paper. The goal is momentum in real life. Both of these systems have helped millions of people transform their finances when applied consistently. The difference between the person who builds wealth and the person who struggles is not which formula they picked. It's whether they actually showed up for their money every single month. Start today. Pick one system. Track your spending for 30 days without judgment. Then adjust. Your future self will look back on this moment as the turning point. If this video helped you think differently about your money, drop a comment below telling me which system you're going to try. And make sure you subscribe because next week we're diving into what to actually do with your savings once you have them.